Okay, so this video is in response to my own video about the Mandela effect in relation to the JFK assassination, and particularly the question of whether there were 6 or 4 people in the car. Now obviously JFK is something that's interested me all throughout my life. It's one of the original conspiracy theories, along with Apollo, before 9/11 really ignited my whole awakening into these kind of things. So I'd looked into JFK only a couple of times recently, in the last few years, and in that time what I was looking at, what zeroed me in was the Zapruda footage, and particularly that missing segment. What happened in that segment? The car stopped, potentially the driver turned and fired, and also the passenger possibly turned and fired. Now I watched that footage for clues on what happened in that car, just relating to that footage alone, and I watched it dozens and dozens, scores if not hundreds of times, over and over again. The same frames repeated over and over again, watching that passenger next to the driver to see if he turned and used his left hand to shoot Kennedy from about lap height through the seats, sort of into Kennedy's chest or his face. So obviously imagine my utter shock and dismay when I see a Mandela Effect video on the sidebar in YouTube saying Mandela Effect JFK. This was last week. Thought, okay, I'll go and have a look at that. Yeah, it was like, the Zapruda footage has got 6 people in the car. Go and check it out for yourself. So I did, and all the photos and videos were the same. And it blew my mind and freaked me out. I'd been resisting Mandela Effect as a case of a combination of people remembering wrong and also a very clever neuro-linguistic psychological conjuring trick on us by the powers that be, whatever we're calling them. So to have the Mandela Effect utterly confirmed right in my face like that, I mean, it was a massive shock. It was probably a bigger shock than the whole 9/11. I'm still reeling. But anyway, just like after watching a magician's trick that absolutely astounds you, no matter how amazing and astounding and mystifying it is, you go home that night knowing that you have one fact in your bag, as it were, for helping you deciphering that trick, and that one utter, absolute, unshakable fact is that you know that he did not use magic. That's the one thing for absolute certain. So you can then go about determining and figuring out in practical terms how it was accomplished, because it wasn't magic. It had to be something else. Something physical and real is happening. The same with the Mandela Effect. I'm really I don't want the Mandela Effect to be true. I do not want this to be true. 9/11 was bad enough, but this cannot be true. I'm a historian by trade and heart, and if the data is going to change, what on earth? So anyway, this is my attempt at looking at a practical reasoning into the JFK Zapruda. So what we have here is we have the unbreakable arrow of time. You cannot move through it. That is it. The arrow of time. The JFK assassination occurs in 1963. At the same time, obviously, from that we get the Zapruda footage. So the Zapruda footage is what moves through time, because the Kennedy assassination obviously happens and disappears into wherever events in time disappear into, but we have something that can travel through the time's arrow in the Zapruda footage. There's also photographs and other things as well. Now we know at the time the CIA obviously had hold of the Zapruda footage, so there's a fork where the CIA have got it, and obviously they would like it to examine, or the FBI in fact would like it to examine it for evidence, but also it's doctored by the CIA for various reasons, and this is where the missing frames. And in 1991 Oliver Stone uses this CIA fork for his JFK movie, and this is all got 6 people in the car, because there always were 6 people in the car. After, or contemporary to roundabout ish, same time ish as Oliver Stone's JFK, which obviously spikes a massive interest into it. At the same time as the birth of the internet, practically, the CIA release onto the internet, as part of a long-term strategy of psychological fuckery with the people, whether they intended Mandela effect or not, or whether they just wanted to see what they could do with this. They CGI enhanced a version of the Zapruda footage. They took a slice out of the middle of the car, changed it to a 4-seater, using their CGI technology, and they released that onto the internet. So this is like a test for them. So they've got one version outside in the wild, and a different version released onto the internet for their own reasons. These people are at such a high level of psychological knowledge and awareness of how we work, and through whatever laziness and whatnot, 99% of internet researchers are taking the Zapruda footage apart and not referring to or relating to anything else outside. And all the people who are book researchers, who were researching before the internet and after the internet also, are getting all of their data from outside, which is all reference to the 6 seats. There's no reference to the 4 seats outside, except in those models, which is a bit of a problem. The main problem with this theory is that in this timeline, Jackie Kennedy is a suspect, and regardless of anything to do with the Zapruda footage, Jackie Kennedy was never anywhere near being a suspect. Never.